So you're approaching menopause and your sleep is terrible. Well, I'm Doc Yates, and today we are discussing menopausal sleep disturbances. So when it comes to sleep disturbances, there's two important things that we need to make sure that we're looking, two different aspects, make sure that we're covered. There's problems falling asleep, and then there's problems staying asleep for people that are waking up. So let's start with the first one, problems falling asleep. This type of pattern is not always a typical hormonal sleep disturbance. So this is where the basics of sleep hygiene come in. Reduce caffeine. Don't just have, if you drink coffee, just have one in the morning. No screen time an hour before bed. No exercise before bed. Make sure your room is pitch black, and if your spouse is a heavy snorer, earplugs. All of those basics are going to come into play. All right, now that we have the basics covered, the next step is simple supplements. I like to start with herbal teas, to be honest, because it's really simple, it's accessible, it doesn't feel like you're even taking a medication. Now, the key thing when you're taking a herbal tea to help you fall asleep is that you want to make it small, but you want to make it really strong. So instead of, if it's a loose leaf tea, instead of a teaspoon per cup, you're going to put in 2 to 3 heaping teaspoons per cup. Let it steep covered for 10-15 minutes so it's really strong, because the last thing I want to do is give you something to make you fall asleep, but then make you waking up more because you drank a whole bunch of tea and then you have to pee all night. So that's kind of defeats the purpose. Herbal extracts called tinctures would be the next step up because they're a little stronger, they're absorbed more quickly, and they act faster when nobody wants to wait around forever to fall asleep. So when I'm making formulas for perimenopausal females that have difficulty falling asleep, herbs that I would be including: hops, California poppy, passion flower, ziziphus seed, linden. These are all herbs that have a good effect to help someone fall asleep and sleep deeper. Then if needed, sometimes I'll add in melatonin. A lot of people have already tried this. The big thing with melatonin is the dosing, anywhere from 3 to going up to 10 milligrams. Another important thing is that some people have taken melatonin and they said that they report feeling kind of drowsy or hungover the next day. In that case, you'd want to step down your dose, and then when you wake up in the morning, you want to expose yourself to as much sunlight as possible. Because the nice thing with melatonin compared to a sleeping pill is that when your body is exposed to sunlight, you break it down, so you don't have to wait for many half-lives like a sleeping pill for it to get out of your system. So melatonin would be a good add-on for difficulty falling asleep. Now I want to discuss what to do if you have no problems falling asleep, but once you go to sleep, then you're waking up all night. And I don't mean just waking up and rolling over for a moment and falling back asleep. I mean you're waking up and you're stuck awake in the night and it's been going on for a long time and it's driving you crazy. So the first question would be, what time are you waking up? If you're waking up consistently, an hour or two before your alarm, you're waking up around anywhere from 4 to 5 a.m. and then you're stuck awake for a bit and then you fall back asleep just before your alarm goes off and then it's time to get up. That is also not a typical hormone imbalance, no, from a female hormone perspective. That is more of a stress waking. So your cortisol starts to peak around that time of day. And if you're stressed and your cortisol is elevated, it seems to disrupt people from their sleep. And then the answer to that, again, is still not to address estrogen. It's not to address progesterone. It's to address the cortisol and the stress. And when you're dealing with cortisol and stress, it's all about, one, working with the adrenal glands. So you could change your herbal formula at night. Use herbs that have a calming effect for your adrenals. You can take adrenal support during the day. But even more important than just supplements is taking and figuring out, what are you stressed about? If you don't deal with the underlying cause, the stress, the other things are just, even if they're natural, they're still band-aids. So figure out what the stress is. The old adage, give me the strength to change. Give me the strength. What is the old adage? Give me the strength to change what I cannot accept and accept what I cannot change. Sometimes it's a mental thing. Like the stuff's going to be happening all the time, and figuring out a way that works best for you to deal with it. The next thing to consider is that you're not waking at 4 or 5 a.m. You're waking around 1 to 2 in the morning. So you fall asleep, within a couple hours you're awake, and either you're stuck awake or then your sleep is broken from that point on. That is a very classic hormonal imbalance waking. Now these symptoms of sleep disturbances with perimenopause, they can start years before any other symptoms perimenopause start, before hot flashes, before night sweats, before your periods start changing. The sleep disturbances always seem to be one of the first things that happen. That is because of progesterone. Progesterone typically starts dropping before estrogen does. And with dealing with these sleep disturbances, it's about getting those progesterone levels back up. You could start off initially for addressing the progesterone with some herbs like Vitex or Dioscorea, but usually I find by this point, if we're getting into the perimenopausal time frame, they don't typically cut it, but they're always worth trying. So I have people typically around day, if they have a regular period still, day 21 to 23, we do a saliva test your progesterone levels, and then we'll find out what they are. And then usually the answer then is using a progesterone cream, just applying it a little bit on your forearm before you go to bed, and within a month, everything is sleeping better and you're back to the races. There's a few cases, and they report that progesterone has a better effect for inducing a sleep when it's taken orally, but I found just as many cases where using topically works, and it's easier for a lot of people. So topical progesterone for the sleep disturbances when you are waking up between midnight and 3 a.m. For progesterone dosing, it will all depend upon what your test results show, but there's still an average. Like for progesterone topical, it's going to be probably anywhere from 20 to 50. I've seen some practitioners who dose a little higher than I like, go up to 60 milligrams topical, but usually it's that, I'd even say 20 to 40 milligrams topically for progesterone. And then orally, it's totally different ballpark. You're looking at 100 milligrams, and I've seen some practitioners go as high as 200 milligrams for oral progesterone. When they've tested progesterone, it's low and their sleep sucks. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you'll be able to address your hormones, figure out your sleep issues, and then sleep well and feel better. There's nothing better than a good night's sleep. So I'm Dr. Yates from the Yates Naturopathic Clinic, and I will see you soon for my next video on hormone imbalance.